Hello students, we have completed first chapter in unit 6, reproduction in organisms. In previous topic we have learnt lifespan in different organisms including 3 phases, types of reproduction, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, taking varieties of examples. Today's session I will be introducing to the second chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Before I begin this topic, just recollect morphology of flower, which I have studied in PUC first year under unit 2. Flower is defined as a condensed modified shoot for sexual reproduction. Flower is either develops in the axil or at the apex of the stem. Some flowers have stalk. It is known as pedicellate flower. As stalk of the flower we call pedicel. Some flowers are without pedicel. We call sessile flowers. When flower grow in the axil of a small leaf and that leaf retains at the base of the pedicel called as bract. Flower with bract we call bracteate and flower without bract we call ebracteate. At the apex of the pedicel there are minute numerous green colored outgrowths are visible in some flowers. These are bracteoles. Flowers with bracteoles called bracteolate and without we call ebracteolate. A supporting expanded region on which the floral whorls are arranged known as thalamus. Based on the insertion of floral whorls on the thalamus and shape of the thalamus, there are 3 categories are made in the flower. Hypogynous flower having superior ovary, epigynous flower having inferior ovary, and flower is said to be perigynous where ovary is half inferior and half superior. The first whorl of a flower is calyx, composed of sepals which are usually green in color, arranged specifically to protect the flower in bud condition, and when the flower blooms it gives maximum support. The second whorl of the flower is bright in color, made up of petals forming corolla. Shape of the corolla varies from one species to another species. The arrangement of petals, the fragrance of the petals, attractive colors of the petals is usually to attract the insects for pollination. As sepals and petals of calyx and corolla are not directly involved in reproduction, hence these 2 whorls we call non-essential or accessory whorls. The male reproductive whorl is known as androecium. The members of androecium are microsporophylls known as stamens. If stamens are united, we call adelphi, and if the stamens are attached to the members of other whorls, we call cohesion. In gynoecium, which represents female reproductive whorl, the members are called pistils or carpels. Androecium and gynoecium, these 2 are producing microspores containing male gamete, megaspore containing female gamete. So these 2 whorls represents essential and necessary whorls of the flower. So when flower is complete, bisexual, then it has 4 whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. In some flowers, calyx and corolla get fused. It forms a single whorl known as perianth and members of the perianth are called tepals. In this topic, we will begin with essential whorls of the flowers which are necessary for sexual reproduction. Why we have to use sexual reproduction in flowering plants? As most of the plants use their vegetative parts like root, stem, leaves for propagation. It is a kind of asexual reproduction to generate the daughter plants. That's why it is specifically mentioned that sexual reproduction which involve the production of the flowers. Some plants are monocarpic, they produce flowers only once in their lifespan, and some plants are polycarpic, they produce flowers every year in their reproductive phase of a lifespan. Let us start with the first essential whorl representing male part, androecium. The members of androecium are called stamens. Each stamen has two parts, a stalk filament and fertile part is anther. Anther is connected to the filament by a small connective. The shape of the anther may be arrowhead-like, dumbbell-like, or it is like a needle. Shape varies. It may be like kidney shaped or bean shaped. Whatever the shape is, there are basically two groups in anther. Anther with one sac, one chamber is monothecous. Anther with two chambers is called dithecous. In monothecous anther, there are two microsporangia, so we call bisporangiate. While in dithecous anther, there are four microsporangia, hence we call tetrasporangiate. As per our syllabus, as most of the flowering plants will show dithecous tetrasporangiate anther, so we will focus on this. When anther is in young condition, it shows two parts. When you take transverse section of anther, four microsporangia, the central axis and anther wall, we can see it clearly. Let us see anther wall. It comprises four layers. Outermost layer is epidermis, where parenchyma cells arranged in single layer. Second layer is for mechanical support known as endothecium. The third is multi-layered region which act like a shock absorber known as middle layer. And the innermost layer which forms the outer covering of microsporangium nourishes the developing microspores is called tapetum. The speciality of the tapetum is the cells contain dense cytoplasm containing food reserves and more than one nuclei. You have to think why there are more than one nuclei available in this cell. The answer you will be getting in the next unit when we deal with molecular basis of inheritance. Let us come to the microsporangium now. In young condition, it is filled with undifferentiated cells forming sporogenous tissue. The cells from sporogenous tissue, when they differentiate, we call archisporial cells. It becomes mature, known as pollen mother cells. And these PMCs or pollen mother cells undergo meiotic divisions to produce haploid microspores or pollen grains, and this process we call microsporogenesis. In this session, I have introduced you with the parts of the flower and detailed account of male whorl androecium, member stamens, parts of stamen, fertile part is anther, young anther showing microsporangia and anther wall, layers forming anther wall, the content present in microsporangium. Like this, let us move to the second essential whorl, gynoecium. It represents female whorl. The members are called pistils or carpels. Depending upon the number of carpels, there are gynoecium referred as monocarpellary, bicarpellary, tricarpellary, etc. Each carpel shows three regions. There is a receptive part known as stigma. It is always ready to receive pollen grains when it becomes mature. There is a tubular region extending down known as style. It will help in germination of the pollen grain and it helps in movement of the pollen tube carrying male gametes. The fertile part of the carpel is called ovary, and this ovary is highly protected in each and every flower, as it is a site for megasporogenesis, where the ovule or megasporangium develops. It is a site for double fertilization, producing zygote. Zygote undergo embryonic development, forming embryo, and this is the region which converts into fruit to enclose seeds as seeds protecting the embryos. In the ovary, there is a soft layer. It is nucellus. Placenta. A part of the placenta forming the nucellar masses, and in each nucellar mass there is one cell differentiate known as megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell undergo meiotic divisions, where egg will develop. In microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis, when we compare, 1 PMC gives 4 microspores and 1 MMC megaspore mother cell will gives 1 megaspore. This we are learning in the next session. Thank you very much.